One less white supremacist in the White House does not change the man sitting behind the desk. Donald Trump has spent decades fueling hate in communities, including his recent attempts to divide the country and give a voice to white supremacists. It's why Democrats will continue to show leadership and unify the country during this deeply troubling time.
Can you believe what she just said? That's a DNC head saying that Steve Bannon was a white supremacist. What they fail to mention to you is Steve Bannon was also a naval officer for some 25 years before he went to Breitbart News. And he pretty much created it. Now let's listen to some more of the Democrat spin on this. They actually think that we're not aware that they are in support of these hate groups, that they have obstructed everything that the American people have voted for. Anyone voting for a Democrat, you're either stupid or you don't watch the news, or you're not paying attention to what's going on in your own life, to why you're not being able to put milk and groceries on the table and your take-home pay. The Democrats are the ones that are stealing your money. And, of course, we have some rebel Republicans, and we'll take care of those when their voting time comes around. Not that we're going to vote Democrat, people. Go with the constitutionalist, alternative to these corrupt Republicans. And I think we all know who they are. Marco Rubio, John McCain. Oh God, there's at least, Murkowski, Susan Collins. Even Rand Paul's gone off on a nut to the point where I can't really support him. I mean, I know he's a good guy and he tries hard, but he's too much to the right, I guess. You can't just, be your own faction within a party. I mean, he didn't get elected because he was a constitutionalist. He got elected because he had an R behind his name. So enough on that. Let's listen to this a little more.
Let's take it to the political power panel. Independent Women's Forum, Patrice Lee Luca, and Washington Times contributor Eric Schiffer. Patrice, what do you make of that statement?
Oh, Democrats are obviously, they're seeing this as a victory or some sort of win and a kind of a stop to the Trump agenda. But what they don't realize is that President Trump has laid out an agenda that is going to continue to put, American families and American workers first. And Steve Bannon going out does not necessarily mean the agenda stops.
And it's worth noting in the statement, the DNC said, they called Steve Bannon a white supremacist, Eric. And they also said there's one less white supremacist in the White House. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I can understand how some would view him that way. I get their perspective, but I mean, all the insider views of Bannon is
this is
the
Eric
opposite,
Schaffer,
that
the
he
Washington
doesn't have
Times contributor.
These racist ideologies. But it's hard to know. We're not close enough to know what's really going on. What we do know is that Donald Trump had enough, and it'll be interesting to see. I don't think Trump is going to lose contact with him. In fact, I think he'll still get his advice.
I know he'll still get his advice. Steve Bannon said when he went on board that he didn't think he'd last a year, at the White House. And a man like that is a man like Donald Trump. You have to be in control of your daily life. And Steve was probably not only, getting bored, but he was tired of watching these insiders that were stabbing Trump in the back and him not being able to say anything to the public about it to help all of us understand what's going on. So him stepping aside and resigning, because he wasn't fired, he was quitting anyway. He knew it wasn't a long-term job. And his quote, here it is, I loved it. I've got my hands back on my weapons. Okay, that means Main Street media is probably losing their minds, and that's probably why the Democrats are losing their minds. And, with Julian Assange coming and asking President Trump to meet with him up close and personal to prove that the Russian Gate theory of Trump colluding or obstruction of justice is not on the Trump side. It's on the Clinton side and the Obama administration. It's going to get interesting, guys, and we have a little less than a year to make sure that we not only oust the 8 or 9, maybe even 10 Republicans that seem to think they run Washington, you know, the gang of 8. So I can count 8 on that plus 4, so that's 9, 10, 11, 12, you know, with the 2 girls and a couple other Republicans that are saying crap that they probably shouldn't. But anyway, if we can replace those 12 and take 12 Democrat seats, Trump can become a powerhouse. And our government will get cleaned up. And that swamp will get drained. You know, it's like any new administration. You have to, it's like when you buy a company. You take it over, you wait a while, you see who's doing what, you shift people around to where their strengths are. Trump is no dummy. He's been shifting people around in his organization for years and years. And the fact that the mainstream media picks on him for it is probably the most pathetic thing is. Name one congressman that has ever run a billion-dollar empire and built it from the ground up. None. Name one congressman that has ever shifted people around to make sure that they're doing their jobs. Not one. They keep on the same old little swamp creatures. I like to call them fleas on the back of a rat. Because they don't want to do the work. Congress doesn't even bother reading bills. They have their flunkies read the bills and then give them a summary on the bills. So when they're voting, they're voting on what their little fleas have told them the bill was about. That's how Obamacare got passed, and you saw that picture one time. It's on a dolly, and it was higher than the dolly of just the regulations that go with Obamacare. Trump didn't fail us on health care. That was all Mitch McConnell's and Paul Ryan's, and of course the unsung hero, shit stain, Mr. John McCain himself. The girls, one of the girls always was against Obamacare, or always against repealing anything. That's Susan Collins. The other one, she flipped on a dime because she's not up for a re-election until 2022. But the bitch will be gone in 2022. I think Sarah Palin will take care of her up there in Alaska, you know, as far as backing up somebody. So let's hear a little bit more of this.
A big problem.
You know, we're just hearing word that, yes, from the White House sources, that Steve Bannon did tender his resignation August 7th, Patrice. You know, he is out as of today. Patrice, let's get back to what's going on behind the scenes in the White House when it comes to getting the economic agenda forward. I have to say it again. The Trump voter, Patrice, does not like Congress at all. They see them as obstructionists. They know that businessmen have to report to investors quarterly. The members of the House report back to voters, you know, every 2 years. You know, you got 3 generals sitting at the top of the Pentagon, the NSA, and the Chief of Staff. Can they get the White House back on track?
The White House isn't off track, you stupid bitch. The White House is doing what any good business would do, would be shift people around to their best qualities and utilize them. Why do you put, it'd be like putting a dentist in a mechanic shop to work on cars. What would be the point? So why not use people's strength? And at 6 months, Trump is just now figuring out who has strength in what areas. So you take your little assumptions and your critique and shove them up your ass, bitch.
Well, I think hopefully they can. I mean, Americans are waiting for not just, you know, people to be in the same position for longer than 7 months, but for a real run at this agenda. You know, and you know, when it comes to Democrats, you know, and what they said before, I mean, it's just ridiculous. They're going to be focusing on race relations and trying to position the Trump administration as white supremacists.
That is the biggest joke there is right there, white supremacists. You know, if our liberal-ass teachers in school weren't brainwashing our children and not teaching them actual history, that the Civil War was never fought over slavery. That's the first lesson that every kid should know. And without knowing that, their brains are being diverted and polluted with racism. I was alive in 1968 when the riots broke out in Detroit. That was a riot. What these guys are doing right now is not a riot. It's an all-out turf war. And you know, I have to back Trump up on this one. There were screw-ups on both sides. Granted, the Nazis were there, but they had a permit to be there. They went through all the right channels to be there. And later on, we find out that there was no weapons stashed, that the governor was wrong, and he lied to the media when he said that the white supremacists had stashed weapons around the park. And AFTA, AFNITA, or whatever they want to call themselves, in Black Lives Matter, and all these hate groups show up, and the cops pretty much corralled them all together. You know, to me, it seemed like it was pretty pre-planned, because as minute those people showed up that didn't have permits, arrests should have started. But the governor and the mayor, what was his name, Bill Bell, and them fuckers stood back and let it go down. What'd they think was going to happen? So let's hear some more of this.
Whereas if Congress and this administration can focus on getting people to work, providing tax relief, and heaven forbid, providing for relief from Obamacare, then I think Americans are going to read between the lines and realize that this is just a lot of, on the Democratic side, a lot of just hot air.
So we're going to see in the midterms, Eric, essentially, instead of, you know, victories for the Trump administration on tax cuts, we're going to see there are fine people marching with Nazis in Charlottesville. That's going to be the
You
Democrat
stupid
commercial,
bitch.
the tagline, right?
Who is this bitch?
I think that'll be one of them. It'll be interesting to see what else they're going to do. I mean, they certainly have a lot to attack the administration on. I think if the Democrats are smart, that's not what they're going to do. If they're smart, they're going to be running economic messaging.
What economic messaging? We've had 8 years of Democrat. Okay, and in 8 years, they destroyed the fucking trucking industry with mandates to satisfy these left-wing liberals who think they have to micromanage the trucking industry. You decimated the auto industry. You decimated the welfare system, the Medicaid system, and you guys are going to run on economic? What are you, fucking nuts?
Saw what happened when they tried to just point out negatives with Trump in the election with Clinton.
You'd think they'd learn.
And I think the big takeaway, and I think Schumer gets this, is that you don't want to get stuck into this identity politics. You want to focus on what really matters to the end voter.
Chuck Schumer, of all the motherfuckers you're going to put up to the light, Chuck Schumer, the big pissant from New York, who is so goddamn jealous of Trump that he eats green spinach in the morning. I'm sorry for my language, but I have had enough of old Chuck E. Cheese. The little prick needs to be slapped upside his head with a sledgehammer. He's been obstructionist. He makes threats. He offers no solutions to anything. Everybody wants to keep saying, well, the Republicans had 8 years to come up with health care and, you know, fix all of it. That's fine and dandy. Where's the fucking Democrats' alternative? I haven't heard them say anything other than try to steal the Trump platform to run themselves on in 2018. By the way, most of them are stupid fucks to begin with. They have no platform. All they do is bitch and complain. You ever watched a Senate hearing or a floor debate? They will make you go to sleep with their bullshit because you know it's bullshit. I have not heard a Democrat besides M-U-N-C-H-I-N, Murchan. He's about the only Democrat that I've heard that even has a chance to be reelected in my book. Manchurian, I think, or something. Because at least he makes sense. Maxine Waters, mad, crazy bitch. Pelosi, I mean, all she does is scream like Hillary Clinton. the fucking crazy bitch that she's been for 20 years. Then you got crazy Bernie Sanders. He's about as nuts as you can get. Sold out to Hillary. His old lady's up on bank fraud charges. In fact, there's about 9 Democrats right now, mayors and senators and congressmen up on fraud charges. In fact, Michelle Obama's rebranding of the food for our kids in school. He's up on $3 million charges of fraud to the school system on that program. But you don't hear the lame street media talking anything about that, do you?
They don't. A lot of them don't care about this. What they care about is, what are you doing to help the economy? What are you doing to help the job situation? If they're smart, that's where they're going to go. We don't know. But my suspect with Schumer, he gets it, and I suspect that will.
He's going to get it all right. He's up for election in 2018. He's going to get voted the hell out. Anyway, just kind of, I'm sorry about my language today. I have to get to drinking wine. I'm waiting for the eclipse to start Monday. And it's getting crazy up here in Casper. I got people showing up from all over wanting to know if they could pitch a tent out in my yard, you know, because out here by the airport, we're about perfect for photographs. Also heard on the local front that the event center is, this is just, you know, talk through the pipeline, but that there's 5,000 Japanese going to be staying up at the event center for the eclipse over the weekend, and that out at the airport they've got scheduled 191 flights coming in. And I'm by the airport, and I'm seriously telling you, I just don't see the planes coming in unless they're coming in at night, you know, because I'm sure not seeing them right now, and it's 5:40 in the afternoon, and the eclipse is Monday morning. Today's Friday. Downtown Casper getting kind of crazy. They got barricades up everywhere. Frankly, I didn't see any porta pots, so I think that's going to be one of their big issues downtown. And looks like there's a lot of price gouging going on. Parking $400, you know, for the day. What kind of city would charge $400 a day for a car to be parked in a lot? Or what kind of person? Or what kind of person would charge, you know, $900 a week to stay on a property somewhere in their fifth wheel that they don't need nothing from you but the 10 by 14 space? And you know, I hate when things like this happen in our town, because the price gouging that goes on with it. Everybody's so money hungry anymore. Instead of working for their money, everybody's looking for a free ride. So anyway, I'm going to stop this video for now. And I hope to hear from you guys. You know, Steve Bannon being out, it's not a big deal. He can fight the war better on the outside than he can on the inside. And like I said, I'm a 100% Trump supporter. I have been since the day he announced, because I'm sick of politicians. I don't care if it's my next door neighbor, but if he's got soft hands and he never ran a business and he never built anything on his own, I'm not electing him. And I don't give a shit what's behind his name. So this is Amazon signing off from Casper, and we'll get back with you for the eclipse.